the preseason NBA GM poll. It's NBA.com. There's no media interference, no fake news, no agendas. It's just NBA.com. And 83% of the GMs overwhelmingly took the Celtics to win the title, 83%. And they overwhelmingly, the GMs, 77% took Wemby as the player you'd start a franchise with. It should be noted, told you, Luka already is not even the best player in his state to start a franchise with. 3%. 3%. That could be a rounding error.
That's shocking.
I said it very early. He's much closer to Carmelo Anthony than anybody wants to admit. Never in great shape, difficult to play with, all offense, embarrassing defensive effort. Tell me where I'm wrong. Luka's going to end up being, as I predicted, a much better version of Melo than anything resembling a poor man's MJ. 3%. That's it. SGA got a higher percentage. This is also noteworthy. All these GMs, of the only four players got votes to start a franchise with. No American-born players. None. Wemby, SGA, Jokic, and a smidge for Luka. What about Jason Tatum? I was right on that one, too. This might as well just be a Colin was right segment. He's not even his own team's best player. The American basketball culture, my friends, is broken. AAU is a gross money grab. It's more about getting players paid than actually developing players. That's what they do in Europe. So the AAU influencers, congratulations, you won. You got a bunch of young basketball players who really aren't winning basketball players. A lot of hype, a lot of skills, cool handles. You got them paid and made them stars, and they don't win games. And they don't influence outcomes. And they don't, it's highlights and hype over chemistry and teamwork. So congratulations. Individual over us, me over we, and Adam Silver from day one has leaned into it. It's all about creating stars. But it's funny. The greatest star was on the Chicago Bulls, and we loved the team, not just Michael. That was the former commissioner, rest in peace, David Stern, who understood as you develop stars, you don't demonize college basketball. And it's not just about the hype and the highlights. The Boston Celtics, by the way, don't have a single player GMs voted to start a franchise. But they are easily the best team because all those really great players for the Celtics play together and cohesion and chemistry. Luka. Let's just move where Colin was right to Monday and Wednesday. Yeah, been saying it for years. Tracksuit Tony in the AAU basketball circuit, just a gross money grab. Congrats on everybody getting paid, including the AAU coach. Congrats. No American players. And by the way, this past draft, you see this past draft, J-Mac, you love the draft. This past draft, looks like Euros were top of that one too.
Okay. Let's talk about this. I want to get back to, there it is. Okay. Well, Wembanyama, this is awesome to see for Wembanyama, obviously. Right? He's a superstar in the making. I'd love to know, player to start a franchise with. Are they talking about, like, getting them as rookies? Or are they talking about, like, right now, right? As these players are right now. Because, right, I assume that's what it is, right? It's right now at this point in their careers. Which is why LeBron James isn't there, Steph Curry, right? Because if you're saying, like, hey, we're going to start over again and we're going to be able to rewind the clock, you would imagine. So I assume that's what that is saying right now, right? So you're obviously not going to pick LeBron or Steph right now because of of how old they are. And that is why you're going to probably pick someone like a Wembanyama even over a Jokic, because again, the runway for Wembanyama is just massive, and the potential for Wembanyama at this point is just significantly higher than any of these other players. I agree with everything Colin has said about Luka. I took so much heat during the playoffs because, Luka continues to not mature. He continues to be just a big, giant baby. Right, he just and it holds him back. When they finally actually won some playoff games, it was because he stopped crying to the refs, right? And the coaches had to come in and say, like, stop it already, just stop it. So yeah, that's brutal, and it's bad team leadership, and it's just brutal to run a franchise with. And so you can't go wrong with Jokic, SGA, and of obviously Wembanyama, because also these three players care so much. But I also see why Wembanyama also gets it over, because Jokic cares a lot, but he's also kind of dejected. Like he's a very interesting figure, obviously, right? It's like he cares, but it's also clearly just a job, but he's obviously amazing and great and brilliant. So it's just interesting. Wembanyama is amazing and great and brilliant, but you also know that he wants this so badly. So badly does he want this. He wants to become the GOAT. And I talk about this a lot with a lot of other players, how much that means to me personally, because it shows how much you care. And I talked about this a lot with Caleb Williams, for instance, for in the NFL, and how whether he's going to end up being the GOAT or not, Caleb Williams, it's irrelevant. It's the fact that that's what, one, he believes he can achieve, and two, he's going to do everything he can to achieve it. That's the exact type of player that I want on my side. That's the exact type of player that I want to build my franchise with, play with, coach, whatever it may be. And so Wembanyama cares so much. He was in the Olympics and he was crying. He lost. And it was like, you lost to GOATs. You lost to KD, LeBron, and Steph. Like, there's nothing for you to cry about when you lose to that. There's nothing for you to cry about. But he was genuinely so sad and felt that he could lead, his country to the gold. And he was so emotional about it. And I love that. I absolutely love that. You see Luka, you see even Jokic, you see some of these other players, they lose in the finals or in the playoffs, and they're just like, whatever, it's like, whatever, and go on to the next thing. It's like, I'm still rich, I'm still famous, let's go. And that's less Jokic and more Luka. But even Jokic is like, he shakes the hands and he's like, okay, and he like goes a bit, he wants to go back home. He wants to leave the country and go back to racing horses or whatever he does. And it's like Wembanyama, I'm sure it still haunts him right now that he wasn't able to win the gold, right? He's still kind of like next Olympics, we're doing this, next Olympics. And so I love that. I mean, I honestly really love that. I know SGA was devastated about how things ended last season. Like I know it's haunted him, right? Like these players want to be great. They truly want to reach the highest levels that they can. And that's also what's really cool when you look at even just SGA and Wembanyama. They also appear to be fundamentally really nice people, which matters, and as we progress just through society, whatever that even means these days. I think we like to rally behind people who we think are fundamentally good people, right? Not people who are, even if they're really good, but they're just kind of questionable. I think once upon a time in the 80s and 90s, and it was like, it was okay, right? People kind of even wore that with a badge of honor. I've had a few which I won't name their names, but I had a few favorite players growing up who were probably just not really good people, honestly, but you wore it with an honor. You're like, yeah, like that's who they are, right? Like it was hard, it was intense, it was aggressive, it was like, yeah, that's right, that's what he does. And I don't think people are like that as much anymore. They want their players to be great and awesome, but also just good people as well. And again, it's not to say that some of these other players are bad people. It's just, you look at, put it this way. Look at Wembanyama and look at SGA. They're both smiling. They're both like, real happy and looking good, right? Just even the perception around them is just, these are more positive, supportive people. The example that I always use is, if you have a little kid and you're like, well, and it was an emergency, who would you trust to watch your kid, right? Who would you have the confidence that my kid is going to be totally okay, right? Wembanyama, SGA, you're confident. Jokic, you're like, I don't know. Are you just going to like leave the kid like completely alone in a room while you go and do whatever? And Luka, are you just gonna like fall asleep on the couch? Like, I don't know if I trust you, man. Or are you gonna yell at the kid? Like, I feel like you'd maybe have fun with the kid if, I was right there and I could like oversee you, right, being like the cool uncle. But like, I don't know if I want you taking the kid to, Disneyland or whatever. But and I think that matters. Like, I'm pointing that out because I really do think it fundamentally matters these days. I really, really do. This isn't just putting this out for just nonsense reasons. And we saw a lot of that. Honestly, I feel like we saw that turn with Steph Curry, right? Because before it was the hard leaders, right, like the Kobe's and the MJ's and stuff like that. And then we see the smiley, happy, positive playing. Speaking of children, playing with his children, Steph Curry. And that obviously resonated with a lot of people. A lot of people. And when you see some of the other stars that came after him who maybe don't have that same personality, you see them people don't put their arms around him as much, right? And it matters. I really think it matters, especially as these other younger players, they're going to want to play with those types of players. The coaches are going to want to coach them. The GMs are going to want to build around them, right? It's less James Harden now, and it's more Wembanyama, Tyrese Maxey. He's another one who's just like a bright spot. And it was funny because for the Sixers, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden went there, and it was James Harden, and I forget the other guy's name. He completely slipped my mind now, and he's really angry, and that's his role, to be kind of the bully, so he gets a pass for it. But James Harden was like, Maxey's always smiling. Like, we're going to have to change that. He's always happy. Like, we're going to work on that. And it was just like, don't, dude, don't. Like, that's his superpower. That's his secret weapon. The players want to play with him. People want to be around him. And yet he still is awesome. And he's going to get better and better and better. So no. Steph Curry didn't need to become more angry. Steph Curry won MVPs and rings being exactly who he is. Where did your anger and your hard personality get you? Nowhere, essentially, right? I don't know if James Harden ever even played in the NBA Finals before, so no. So yeah, I think these things matter, and I think it's really interesting and really cool to see. And yeah, I think Wembanyama's career is just, I think as long as he stays healthy, he will be the greatest basketball player we've ever seen. He'll break every record. Again, as long as he has the longevity, he will break every record. He will have the most points, most rebounds. Like, he will surpass. He has to be able to play as long as LeBron, who LeBron just is apparently just going to play forever. But as long as he stays healthy and doesn't miss too many seasons and doesn't get his season, his career short where it ends at 36 or 37, if he can actually also play to 38, 39, 40, whatever, I just think he will he'll have the most points, most rebound, right? Like, he will have it all. He'll win his rings, and he will be just an absolute dominant, mega superstar. And I'm really excited to see how his career continues to unfold. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about what's your biggest takeaway from this survey? In terms of the players that are listed there, Colin's thoughts about Luka. It's funny because he was ripping Luka, but Luka's still technically top 4, right? Technically, so it's better than not being top 4. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.